Okay, everybody. Hi. Again, my name is Michael Harris. Again, many of you know me. Some of you don't know me. I've been in the yoga business for a long time. Started Bikram Yoga in '93. Started practicing Bikram in '93. Started practicing yoga in '87. Went through the Bikram training, several other yoga trainings too, but the Bikram training in '98. I've owned a couple of studios, etc. So the idea behind this presentation is really to point out what my experience has been about the three main reasons that studio lose money and how to get over. I'm going to give you some specific ways to eradicate that from your particular studio, whether you're a studio owner or whether you're a teacher. The information is just about is valuable. I want to tell you. Whoops, I hit two instead of just one. My mission is to really change our healthcare system worldwide by having more people practice yoga. I can do that by helping yoga studios attract more students and create healthy, consistent profits. I'm going to go back real briefly to 1998. When I went to training, I was the valedictorian of our class, and I stood up on stage and said that I wasn't going to own any studios, that is going to just help other studio owners in their business. Well, after owning a couple of studios and helping numerous studios over the years, it's now something that I'm really doing more almost on a full time basis in my writing as well. I'm just going to briefly mention something else here too. All of this is really exciting because I'm joining forces with an organization as well called Future of Health Now. You can actually go to that website if you want, futureofhealthnow.com. And I'm going to begin writing about yoga as well as interviewing renowned doctors from around the world that have studied and researched yoga. It's a really, really cool project. And once that is launched, I'm going to send out a bunch of information and would like you guys to join me in that as well. So let's keep going. Okay, guidelines. So for today, just ask you to keep an open mind. One of the things, some of the things that I might say, your first reaction might be, well, it's not going to work for me, not in my studio, you don't understand. Um, I understand that thinking, and I just encourage you again to just to keep an open mind and to maybe take a look at what new ideas might work for you. But remember, too, not everything will work for you. Not everything I say is going to work for every single situation. What I have found, though, is that these three main things, by playing with it, by tweaking them, by shifting them a little bit, it can change your business. Again, as we go along, ask questions. I'll see them pop up from time to time. I may ask for an answer or something, but feel free at any time to type in a question and I'll keep my eye on that box too. And if just at the end, just if you can experience one aha moment out of today's webinar, that could change your business. And I'll give you an example. I just finished another webinar from a coaching webinar that I'm just finishing up. One of the participants was a studio owner in Australia. After the second session, they made a couple little tweaks, and within about 72 hours, brought in $30,000 more of income. So again, take notes, and let's just keep going here. Think maybe what are you looking for today? You probably already have that in mind. Again, type any questions in the side, any ideas, and again at the end we'll have a final open Q&A. So let's keep going. So oftentimes we don't think about this in the yoga business, but rule number one, never lose money. Rule number two, never forget rule number one. Warren Buffett's a pretty smart guy, and I live by that today. And it's interesting. I totally equate that to the practice of yoga. So we could say in yoga, rule number one, never stop breathing. Rule number two, never forget rule number one. So to me, the idea of normal, consistent breathing in your practice can equate to normal, consistent profits in the business. If you don't have normal regular, consistent profits in your business starts to fade away. And I get emails and comments all the time from studio owners saying that they're not making any money, they haven't paid themselves. Again, I equate that to holding your breath or not breathing in yoga, because there's ways that you can make money no matter how small or how big your studio is. So we'll talk more about that again as we continue to go. Okay, so what is vital? A really good friend of mine, and he's more of an executive coach, privately held corporations of 25 million to about 250 million. And one of the main things that he starts talking about with his clients is what he calls vital drivers. What is really vital? Sometimes we put so much energy into things that aren't vital, rather to things that are vital. So, for instance, your hands. Yeah, we can say they're vital, but if we lose one, we're still going to be okay. Or the same with the kidneys. If we lose a kidney, we're still going to be okay. But if we lose the heart, if the heart dies, we're not going to be doing very well. So, out of those three things, the heart is the most vital driver of all. Um, so, I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but I just wanted to mention that. In your studios, maybe make a list of things for yourself that are what you could call vital drivers. What's most important, cash flow or profits? Now, there is no correct answer for this. It's whatever is right for you. New students or retention. What do you need? Do you need a bunch of new students coming in, such as Groupon, or are you more interested in creating regular retention? The normal retention rate for yoga studios is about 20%. So, what happens if you were to change that retention to 30% or 40%? If you're not tracking that, I'd encourage you to do that. Again, smelly room or clean towels, employees or independent contractors as teachers. Is a hot room, is having 107 degrees and 60% humidity more important than having more students in the room? So these things are good to begin to look at. Again, feel free to type in questions anytime along the way. And as I see them pop up, we'll keep going. Somebody typed in wowzer. I'm not sure what you were wowzering about, but I like that. Okay, let's keep going. Mistake number 3. I'm going to start with 3 and then go to number 1. Some of this may seem really basic, but it's great insight and reminder as well. Lack of clear plan for profits. It's kind of fuzzy sometimes, and people don't really have a direct, clear plan on how to create profits in the studio. They kind of have a vague idea, but it's not really clear. So let's talk about 3 types of planners. Number 1, those that have a fuzzy idea of what they want, then create fuzzy plans and get fuzzy results. Unfortunately, that's probably most people. We kind of have this vague idea of what we want, and then we kind of make these plans, but then they maybe change every couple of hours or every couple of days because we're not getting the results that we want. So the second type is those that have a great idea of what they want, but then they still kind of create fuzzy plans, but they do get some results. So number 3, those that know exactly what they want then creates very specific plans to get what they want and succeed. So the people that do that, and we'll mention that in a moment again too, that actually plan and write down specifically what they want tend to be much better at getting what they want. So, and I'm going to show you some yearly sales plans, some monthly plans. I'm going to give you very specific things as we go through each step here. So, it's very important to have a very clear plan of what you want. Take a 3-day weekend every fall or something to plan for the next year and write out everything that you are going to do in your studio and follow it. It doesn't have to be a perfect plan, but an imperfect plan implemented is better than a perfect plan never implemented. So write out a yearly sales plan. What are your sales going to be over the year? Break it down. How many yearlies you need to sell, how many monthlies you need to sell, how many auto pays you need to sell, how many intros you need to sell, etc. And that will make more sense as you see some of the forms that we'll have coming up. And then again, implement it. Just follow the plan day in and day out, and work the plan. I'm also a huge proponent. Somebody sent a question in before the webinar and said, how do I motivate my teachers, my employees? I want to really share the profits with them in um, the success of the business. And I think that's vitally, vitally important to share with the employees. And I put employees there. I tend to lean towards teachers being employees than independent contractors, but that's a whole nother discussion. So let's keep going. So here is an example of a monthly sales plan. Now I have like the month, say August, say total sales for the month of August, $30,000, and say you want to have net profit of $5,000, whatever the number is. There's a huge misnomer that you cannot make money in the summer, but I'm going to show you ways that I have made money in the summer, and I'll show you the particular numbers as well and what I did. So under intro, so numbers sold. So say 100, whatever the price might be, $29. So 100 times 29 is $2,900. Now you notice here that I don't have very many packages, and I do that on purpose. I left a couple blank lines under the 20 class, but I tend to think that the fewer the packages, the better. An intro package, an auto pay, a yearly, a 1 month, and a 20 class. Yeah, maybe you want to give a discount for kids or under 25 students or something like that. That's perfectly great. But if you have a 10, a 20, a 30, a 40, a 60, an 80, that's a little overdone. And I'll just briefly mention one of the things that I've done in my studios on the 20 class package. For instance, it was at my studio was 209. Doesn't matter what you charge, it's whatever you charge. But in my example, the 20 class is 209. But when somebody came to the counter, and the 20 class is good for 6 months, what I'd say to them, if you buy a second 20 today, it's an additional $189. So I upsold them and I essentially doubled my sale. But rather than having that be a printed option, have that be a front desk sales option. I found about 50% of the students would go for the upsell. So it's a great way to increase that. And at the same time, my main focus on sales was number one was auto pay, and number two was the yearly, which again, we'll talk a little bit more about the yearly later, not as quite as much about the auto pay. And as you can see down here at the bottom, percentage of profits that I bonus to staff. I believe, again, that you should have a sharing plan. Don't call it profit sharing because that gets into legalities. We call it bonus. Um, and then bonus percentage to the staff. And how much are you going to bonus to yourself? I mean, maybe pay yourself a $30,000 salary every year, 50,000, whatever the number is, and then bonus yourself every month for reaching your sales plan. I sometimes call them goals, I sometimes call them plans, but I tend to talk more about plans because I don't know about you. If I had a doctor and I had a need to my gallbladder taken out and he came into my room and my hospital room and said, "This is my goal today. I'm going to like go in and look around and take out the gallbladder." I'd be a little skeptical. But if I had a doctor that came in and said, "I'm going to make a 1/2 inch incision right here. I'm going to open it up like this. I'm going to go in. I'm going to cut this out. So you're going to feel better, yada, yada, yada." I'm going to go with the doctor with the plan rather than the goal. Um, so there's a couple. Summertime is slow. Somebody typed in, and then somebody says, "How do I change my schedule in the summer when a class can be one or two students and doesn't seem to be cost effective to pay a teacher or run the heating system?" That's a really super great question, and we will address that. Why do you favor employees over contractors? Have both, and I'm leaning towards having just contractors. There is some variables state by state on employees versus contractors. There's several studios here in the state of Oregon that about a year ago, one of their contractors went to the state after having an injury, a workers' comp claim. They went to the state. The state did an audit on 3 different studios. One of them had to pay back fines, penalties, and interest of 25,000. Another was 40,000. But the big one was one of the studios had to pay $80,000 in back taxes, um, and fees and interest. So the cost of doing employees versus contractors, the difference is really minimal, but it's well worth it. The other reason to do it is I like to hire full-time employees and pay teachers full-time wages to make a living that they can pay their rent and their food and their card payments and all of that. So me committing to my teachers also allowed the teachers to commit to me. So that's the short answer. The other thing is summertime is slow. It doesn't have to be slow. Again, we'll cover that in another slide as well. So let's keep moving. Yearly sales plan, essentially the same thing. You start out with your year. Again, this is one page, as simple as it can be, doesn't need to be complicated. Decide how much your yearly sales are going to be, or what year, the total sales, the profits, the amount of packages of each type of packages that you are going to sell. Then you can, at the same time, is you can do 12 of these, do January, February, March, April, all at one time. So you know what you need to do to reach your main yearly goal. So break it down. And once you start to break it down, you find that it becomes easier and easier. When you go from going, oh, I need to make $250,000 this year, to breaking it down to $500 a day. Okay, well, what do you need to do $500 a day? Not nearly as much. If you do an auto pay, $500. If it's 99 bucks, that's 5 auto pays. So you can break it down like that. Okay, so let's keep moving here. Okay. So goals, I mentioned the goals. Um, those that achieve their goals, 80 to 90%, write down their goals, create an action plan, share with a friend, and send a weekly progress report. So a few slides back, we were talking about those that plan and the difference in the plan. I mean, this is statistical. This has been studied after studied after studied that shows that people that actually write down their goals and create the plan make it happen. So it's like that law of attraction, but the law of attraction doesn't do any good unless you do the law of Goya, which a guy named John Assaraf coined. Goya is get off your ass. So you have to create a massive plan, a massive action plan to make it happen. Um, let's see. I'm just going to look at the questions here again. We're fairly new. What is the best way to maintain retention? Great question. As a contractor, I appreciate the self-awareness and self-empowerment. Being a yoga teacher, thanks for the boost. Great. I am the only teacher student in my area. I rely on contractors to help me out. Should I sponsor students to go to training? Oh, that's a question that I may not be able to address um, on this call, but um, I have your name here, so let's schedule a call. By the way, every single one of you receive a call if you'd like a 30-minute call. Just for being on this webinar, and we'll chat about anything else that you also want to chat about too. Actually, being the only teacher studio in your area is really good. I live in Bend, Oregon. I sold my studio last year so I could devote more time to this, but we're the only studio in the area. Yeah, a couple of hot studios open, but I don't care. It didn't make any difference. Just doesn't matter. Mistake number 2, lack of clear and detailed retention plans. So somebody asked here too, we're a fairly new studio. What is the best way to maintain retention? So we'll talk a little bit about that here. That's the number 2 mistake. So number 3 was lack of clear plan for profit. Number 2, lack of clear and detailed retention plan. So I found this little picture, and even though it's a real estate picture, I thought it was pretty appropriate sometimes for yoga studios, because I see this happening. Is I see lots of studios, they reduce the price, they must sell, best offer, don't make us beg. So, I mean, some teachers and studio owners are almost at the front desk begging people to buy. What we should do is turn that around and have the students beg to get into class because the class is so damn full. So I'm not a huge guy in price reductions or must sell. And again, we'll go over that a little bit more here in a moment too. Retention plan. Part of the challenge that I see, and part of what I see in the marketing that many studios do, is they lead with price. They don't lead with benefits and value. Always lead with benefits and value. That's probably the number one thing you can do for customer retention. Customers will only pay you based on the value they think that they are getting out of something, regardless of what that something is, whether it's yoga or something else. So you always have to lead with benefits and value. Establish your credibility. Each of you, myself, everyone on this call that's been through some type of teacher training, or you're a yoga studio owner, you are an expert. Remember, and that's really hard for some people to swallow because they don't think of themselves as an expert. But think of this: a 3-year-old kid that cannot tie his shoe looks at a 7-year-old kid that can tie his shoe and think that 7-year-old is an expert. Sometimes we forget that the students that come into the room, those new students that have never done this before, had no idea what yoga is, can barely do any of the postures that are being taught. Think of you as a teacher as an expert. So it's time to claim yourself as an expert, all of us. Create a sales guide. And I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Again, 20 or 40% retention. The average retention in yoga studios right now is 20%. So what would happen if you had 40% retention? That would be huge. Think of martial arts studios. Martial arts studios have much smaller classes, much smaller bases. And when somebody new comes in and tries karate or kung fu or tai chi or whatever it is, an average studio, let's for discussion, let's say it's 100 people come in. Average karate studio might be 10 people. That's a month. So a karate studio tends to have higher retention because they really focus on that value and benefit of what it is. Send monthly newsletters. I resisted that for a long time. About 8, 9 years ago, I started sending monthly newsletters. Within about 45 days, I had a 20% increase in sales because those people that had stopped coming came back, or those people that maybe came for the intro started coming too. And there's very specific ways that you should write the newsletters that will create a better um, response, better retention. Frequent events. Kind of think of your studio as a Cheers. It's a place where people want to go, where people know people. I always had frequent events, and it just made all the difference in the world. It didn't cost a lot of money. Um, Here in Bend, I was able to do some things like do rafting trips and that. But we'd have picnics and just we had somebody came in that made a bunch of smoothies, just different things, low cost events, at least every other month that creates community and people get to see each other more outside of yoga. And of course, teach what you love. I don't know about what you guys, but or teach with love. I don't know about you guys, but I love yoga. That's what I teach. I'm going to do it for my lifetime in whatever capacity that might be. That was actually the mission statement of um, my most recent studio was Teach with Love. I say most recent because I don't count out the idea of having another studio. Celebrate your students. What I mean by celebrate your students, all of us, each of you, me, all the other students that come into class, they love to be celebrated. What I mean by celebrate students, do things like if you don't have a student of the month, have a student of the month. Put that in your newsletter. Put their picture on the wall. Put a story there. People love that. Those of you that are doing that know that it might take a little extra work, but it's well worth it. What I did at the pictures rotated every 3 months. So when 3 months was over, so this is August, or almost, let's say, July, June, May. So as the August student of the month would go up tomorrow or the next day, I would take the May student of the month picture off the wall and I would give it to that student. And that was a prize picture of them, and they just loved that. So just a couple of ideas. Let's keep going here. Write front desk scripts. So just like many yoga practices have dialogue or scripts, why not have a front desk script? And I have one here. I'll show you in a minute. Just like you practice teaching, practice your scripts, your sales scenarios. What would happen if Mary came to the front desk and um, she was a woman that was 37 years old. Her knee was bad from running, etc. How would you sell her an auto pay? I mean, write this out. Think this out. This is important. Be consistent. Have a core product. I put auto pay. Most studios, a pretty reasonable goal is to have 150 auto pays. There are some studios that are doing 80, 90, 92% auto pays. That's primarily what they sell. And minimal packages. What I mean by that is what I had on the sales plan, where it's like intro, 20 class, 1 month auto pay yearly. That's it. You don't need all the other packages in most situations. So let's keep going. So this is an example. Um, and if anybody wants to email me, I will send this to you, or I'll find a place to get it to you, or way to get it to you. This is an example of a sales guide. There's a lot of information right here, so I appreciate you may not be able to read it all. But one of the things here, it says talk benefits, sell benefits, talk benefits. Price is secondary. So if you sell value, then they will buy value. So one of the mistakes that I made early on, when I say early on, my first studio was 99, I started asking people, oh, how often do you think you can come? And I know a lot of studios still do that, and maybe some of you are still doing that as well. I encourage you to change that to what do you want out of your practice? So instead of leading with how many times they can come, ask them what they want. So if Mary's standing there at the front desk, says, well, I want to reduce my stress and I want to be able to run on a regular basis but because of my knee, I can't do that. Well, to be able to do that, you need to come at least 3 to 5 times a week on a regular basis. And that will help you reduce your stress and that will help your knee. So that automatically leads into the auto pay. So think of it that way. Think of what they want. Ask the students what they want out of their practice versus how many times that they can come. Now, it may end up that they're only able to buy a 20 class because truly that's all they can come, but lead with the value and the benefit of a 3 to 5 time a week regular practice, or 6 times a week. I generally don't lead with an everyday practice. Some students tend to do that. Some of you may practice every day, but to be realistic, most students practice 3 to 5 times a week. So again, I'm not going to go through every line on here just because of time, but my point in putting this up here was to instill the idea that you need to have a script and a guide at the front desk, just like you do when you're teaching. So this is really the second part of it too. So let's keep moving. A thing to remember too, that just because someone doesn't buy the first time doesn't mean they will never buy. Sometimes somebody comes in, they might buy the intro, but then they come a couple of classes and they never come back and we think we've lost them. That's why part of the retention plan is really sending a newsletter, because that person, if they've given you their email on the registration card, you now have their email. If you're using MindBody and you're using Constant Contact, email automatically goes into constant contact, and they'll get that email. So they'll keep coming in. If you're celebrating the students in your email by having a student of the month, they see that all these people are getting benefits. So that's an ongoing testimonial. Um, okay, let's keep going. Mistake number one. You know, what I have really found, the reason that most yoga studios fail or don't, or studio owners don't pay themselves, is lack of clear and detailed personal and business vision. Hey, let's be real, guys and ladies. We're yoga teachers. And sometimes as yoga teachers, we can be kind of unclear sometimes about things. And then we get into business and we're still kind of unclear about things. So, one of the ways to change that is to find a way to develop some clarity in what we want in our personal life. Instead of the studio or the business owning you, we should own the business. You should own the business. You should determine how much you need to be there, and it's not 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. Most studios can be operated 4 to 5, maybe 5.5 days a week, but the studio, in my opinion, is there to help other people with their practice and with their life, as well as supporting our life too. And as much as we may be committed and dedicated to it, we also have a life where we want to go do other things. So when a personal vision is created, um, that should be included. So we're going to go through some of that here. So vision, what is yours? Without the vision, I mean, I can teach you sales plans. I can teach you retentions plans. I can teach you how to write a newsletter. I can teach you how to do a marketing plan. I can do all of those things and help you implement those in your studio. Um, However, if you don't have a personal vision behind it, none of it matters. So this is really the most important. Some people, the self-esteem isn't strong enough, and I've been there too, where my self-esteem wasn't strong enough, so I didn't know what my vision was. But by going through the process of finding your vision, you are able to create your vision. So, what do you want in your life? What do you want in 1 year? So, this thing right now, where would you like to be in 12 months from today? If you're not making any money in your studio, where would you like to be? How much would you like to make in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? I believe everybody should have an exit plan in their studio. When are you going to sell? Are you going to sell in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? And then build towards that. How do you build a studio that you can sell in 5 years that creates profit for you and you get a good chunk of change when you sell? You should be able to do that. And again, this comes back to writing it down. Okay. So create a vision for your personal life. I'm a huge proponent of vision boards. We see so much visually, it's what we do all day long, that if we see something in front of us, it's going to help. So, silly, maybe for some, stupid for some, but you know what? It works. And sometimes the silliest things are the things that work, the simplest things. So, I encourage you to create not only a vision board for your life, but create one for the business as well. You could even have a vision party with the students. This would be another event. Ask and invite all the students to come in and say, hey, we're going to sit around and create a vision for the studio. What do you want in the studio? And have everybody bring in magazines and then put it up on the wall. That gets them feeling more like they're in community, because they are. So consider doing that as well. Let's keep moving here. So, how to lose money. Um, Over the next couple of slides, we're going to talk a little bit about this. Have a summer sale on low priced packages. I see so many studios, and I'm going to give you an example here in a minute. They sell a 10 class for 50 or 60 bucks, or a 20 class. They do the discount. I've never discounted small packages ever. And we'll show you these examples too. Reduce classes. I'm not a fan of reducing classes. Um, I live in Bend, Oregon, one of the most outdoor recreational places anywhere. It's the recreational capital of the Northwest. Everybody's out hiking, biking, kayaking, skiing right here. But there's a way to keep them coming to yoga as well. But if you reduce the price or if you reduce the schedule, they think, oh, it's not so important. Do you have to give them the opportunity to practice? Here's a sale example. 3 months, only $199. So if you sell 50 packages, it's barely $10,000. So it's not a very good way. And oftentimes studios will put these packages up for sale and then they don't have any auto pay packages or yearly packages. So they're not generating regular income. Um, let's go to the next one. So this is an example of one that I recently saw somebody's newsletter. I'm not even going to mention the studio. It doesn't matter. They're selling 10 classes for $49. Well, if you sell 50 packages, that's only $2,450. That's barely enough to pay rent. Where are you to get the 50 bucks? 20 classes, $89. Same thing. $4,450 to sell 50 of them. They're probably going to be lucky if they sell 20 of them. Annuals. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about annual. You only need to sell 20 of these at $9.99 and you have $20,000. So if you eliminated the other two, the 10 and the 20, get rid of those and encourage people to buy the annuals. The nice thing, if you do that in August, next August, they are going to um, need another annual. So they're going to buy again. And I'm going to show you what I did and how it changed for me too. So August 2007, I lost $4,176. In August 2008, I turned it around and made a profit of $7,476. From that year on, I never lost money again in the summer, and neither should you. No studio should lose money in the summer. You can see I went from 1,431 visits to 1,996 student visits. I'm just going to. Somebody's asking a question about successfully selling a Bikram studio. So to the person that asked that question, I would love to talk to you about that. So it's possible. It's quite possible. Um, so let's go on. Example. Normally, I do a sales plan. It's actually a 6-year sales plan, a rotating plan to sell yearly unlimiteds. That's why I never lost money again. So, for instance, a couple of days, it's August 1st. My normal yearly sold for 1,097. That was the printed amount on my price sheet on the website, etc. I never sold a single yearly for that amount. I didn't care. That's not the reason I put that there. I learned to have a sale. So August 1st, let's say August 1st last year, sold for 927. This might sound a little complicated, but I'll walk through it the best I can. You plan to sell 20 of them. That's $18,540. Following July, not August, following July, you have a sale. You bump it up $10, $937. Then in July, you have sold $18,740 worth of yearlies. Then in August, the previous year's buyers whose yearly is now up, you get them to buy. And it's my experience that virtually all of them rebuy because they are the most committed students. Sometimes maybe instead of selling 20 more, maybe you've sold 18, but in July you've sold 24. So you've really made about $4,000 more in July. So every year I began to make profits in July and August that rivaled my profits of January or February. So instead of succumbing to the idea that summer has to be less income, I created the opportunity to create more income. Okay, again, let's come back to this. Those that achieve the goals, 80 to 90%, write down their goals, create an action plan, share it with a friend, and send a weekly progress report. So many studio owners I talk to, and some of my regular clients, this is the first thing that I ask them to do is to start to write down their goals. Many places have never really done that. They just go, yeah, yeah, I think about it, but I don't do it. I know it in my head. There's something magical about actually writing it down. It makes a difference. Maybe it's kind of like doing yoga. Maybe it's kind of like, well, I'm going to do half moon and I'm really thinking about it I think I'm going to do it versus no, I am going to do half moon and you do half moon. And that's the difference. That's the law of Goya, that get off your ass law. So let's keep moving. Homework. Yes, even on a free webinar, I'm going to give you guys homework. Create a personal vision, create a business vision, create a retention plan, create a profit plan. Doesn't have to be lengthy. It doesn't have to be difficult. Really, all of these things can be done on one page. So one page personal vision, one page business vision, one page retention plan, one page profit plan. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay. I actually teach my clients a 7-sentence marketing plan. Those of you that know Jay Conrad Levinson, he's actually the person that um, wrote the foreword to my book, Falling Down, Getting Up. But Jay Conrad Levinson is the father of guerrilla marketing, and he used a 7-sentence marketing plan early on in Apple and Microsoft and some of these other places that he was hired to come into. And they are still, believe it or not, Apple is still using a 7-sentence marketing plan. And then they're using a marketing calendar to support that marketing plan. That's why Apple has so few products. They don't need that many products. Um, so let's go on. Again, my mission is to change our healthcare system by having more people practice yoga. And I can do that by helping yoga studios attract more students and create healthy, consistent profits. Um, so let's right now. Somebody wrote, Michael, great content. Can we get a copy of your slides? By the way, much love. Yes, of course you can get a copy. Again, this will end up getting on YouTube. So you'll be able to see it there as well and go back over it. A couple of more things. Of course, a good free webinar would not mean anything unless I gave you guys um, some more information, an opportunity to do more information. I just am finishing up. Actually, tonight is the last session of my previous Core Essentials that I did with a number of studios from my last webinar. And one of the students, like I said, or one of the participants that owns a studio, owned a studio for 10 years. After the second session, increased his sales in 72 hours by $30,000. So I really want to be able to help you guys with your business. And let me explain a little bit about what Core Essentials is so you know, so you can make a decision. I'm starting another session next Tuesday. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Can everybody see this? There should have been a change. Just type in a Y if you can see it. Yes, I already see a yes. Okay. So to get really more in depth to what I'm talking about and do some other things, I created a program called Yoga Business Expert Core Essentials, the profit system for studio owners and teachers that want to do what they love and be paid well. I believe you should be paid well. I believe teachers should be paid well. Somebody earlier on said something about paying the teachers. I've paid bonuses, monthly bonuses of $3,000 to teachers. That is above their normal pay. So there is a way to do it. There's a way for you to make money and the teachers. That's why this isn't just for studio owners, because I think that this information is just as valuable. So we start with creating your vision. Again, the number one thing, sometimes we just want to get on to what the retention is and all that, but creating that vision, writing that down, talking it out. I've got lots of great stuff to talk about with that. Business plans, marketing, foundation for profits. I'm going to show you a system that is a 12-month profit plan, not a 6-month profit plan or a maybe next month I will make profits plan, but a clear profit plan. I'm also going to show you how to write newsletters. I also have a template for if you're Bikram, for all the Bikram postures that you can just insert into your newsletters, and you can do a series on all the postures. Again, on the marketing, I'm going to show you the 7 steps marketing plan, but I'm also going to break out how to do that. I'm going to bring in a guy that is probably one of the best sessions we had this last time on websites. Virtually all the websites that I've seen out there need to be updated um, in some way to really start attracting students and really generating what they should be generating. There's some pretty uh, good websites out there, but they're not really updated according to today's marketing. So we're going to talk about that. One of the other popular things is working with the media. I'm not a big fan of paid advertising, but I'm a big fan of the media. I have now, over the years, worked with the media a lot and been exposed to the media a lot more lately, and work with media advisors on how to attract the media, what to say to them. So I'm going to show you as well how to attract the media, how to get them to make you the yoga expert of your local community, wherever you are, doesn't matter. So you'll be on the media, whether it's TV, radio, print, on a regular basis. Won't cost you anything, and it creates a lot of good PR for the studio, etc. So that is a really, really good session right there. I will probably throw in a couple of other sessions. I didn't post them yet, but I'll just throw them in as bonus sessions. But I'm waiting on another person on copywriting, how to write copy for your website, the words to say is just really, really super important. I'm not a big fan of putting on websites, welcome to our studio. I'm more of a big fan of um, XYZ Yoga Studio rocks, and you do too. Something like that, something that's more inspiring. Welcome was something that was good before, not so good anymore. So we're going to talk a lot about that copywriting and the importance of that, not only for websites, but also for any of your graphics. So all the sessions are 60 minutes or so. We've gone as long as 90 minutes. Um, you can see the times that I have up here right now. We had somebody, like I said, from Australia last time. 11:30 in the morning is for Pacific time is 4:30 in the morning in Sydney. So we made some adjustments to that, and we had some 7 p.m. sessions because that was then noon over in Australia. So, but basically that's our plan, and we'll work with all the participants that will do it. You will have access to a membership site that's already set up. You'll be able to go in. You'll have just tons of information. Again, 140 plus pages of documents and tools, marketing plans, 7 sentence marketing plan, how to do it, a bunch of other videos, very specific training videos on how to do something. Um, each person, each program participant also receives a 60-minute private one-on-one call with myself to talk about your particular situation. However, I will tell you this last session, all the participants have had 2 or 3 calls, and that's okay because the most important thing is helping you with your studio. And if you're not making any money in your studio, is to help you find a way to make money now, not next year, but now, um, as well as helping the students. Because when it comes down to it, for me, it's still all about the students. And by doing that service and by making that my goal, everything else tends to follow. I do want everybody to make money before they're halfway through. And most people, like I said, after 1 or 2 sessions, had changed their profits immediately in their studio. So let's keep going. So the registration will close Monday because we're going to start Tuesday. Um, the catch number one, you're a certified yoga teacher. I'll scroll down here a little bit more so you can see it. I've tried to keep the price low. One of my personal advisors thinks I should charge $1,997, and maybe they're right. However, I know that that would be a stretch for some people, and the most important thing that I can do is to help you guys. So I've tried to find a way to make it affordable to you right now, and in a way that you can do it affordably and be able to, again, make profits. Because if you're not making any profits, then it's not going to really help. But the people that I can really help the most are the people that are open minded and are willing to take massive action now. If you're not willing to take massive action, this program isn't for you. If you are ready to take action now, then we're going to hop right in and do some um, things to help your studio. Again, whether you're making profits now, help you make more profits, whether you're not making profits, whether you're a teacher that wants to open up a studio, this is ideal for you in your planning, helping you figure it all out. It, also, if you want to sell your studio, we'll talk about how to position your studio as well for sale, because there are some studios out there and there's a lot of mistakes in people buying and selling studios. So hopefully, through all this, that can be avoided. So this is yogabusinessexpert.com. Core Essentials is where you can find this page. I'll send an email out to you as well with that link so you have it. Again, it's a super, super good program. Will be done before the end of August, and it just might change your studio. So, let's see. I don't see any more type questions. There's a number of other comments in here as well that are really super great. So, let's do this. I am going to stop the recording now, and then we can open up the calls so we can talk as freely as you want. But I just want to thank each of you for being here.